This story is titled, She Ordered Me Out of Her Life. 5 years later, seeing me again made her collapse. There's this sound that still lingers in my head sometimes. Even now, 5 years later, I can hear it, soft as a whisper, like a door closing too gently, like someone wiping you out of existence with surgical precision. That was the last thing I heard the night I walked away. No screaming. No crying. Just that faint, almost polite click as the door shut behind me. It wasn't slammed. It wasn't locked. It was simply closed. As if I'd never existed at all. I didn't even take the car. I walked 4 blocks in the dark, carrying a duffel bag that didn't even belong to me. It was hers. Pink zipper. One strap barely hanging on by a thread. All I packed was 2 shirts, my birth certificate, and a toothbrush I never bothered to use. I left my own name behind too, because that's what she asked of me. And the sickest part? A part of me actually believed she might come after me. A text. A phone call. Something like, wait. I didn't mean it. But nothing ever came. Days bled into weeks. Weeks blurred into months. The season shifted, and still, silence. You're probably thinking I'm being dramatic. I get it. Most men don't just vanish because their wife told them to. But I wasn't like most men. I was background. A placeholder. Deep down, I think I always knew it. Her exact words still echo. You're like wallpaper. LOL. Just there. She said she needed space to be more than this. Wallpaper. She couldn't even bother with a proper insult, just stripped me down to beige paint and dead air, told me to pull myself off the wall like I was mold behind the couch. So I did. I disappeared into a no-name town where nobody asked questions. No ID. No credit cards. I worked graveyard shifts scrubbing vending machines at bus depots. Signed fake names on motel forms. I even slept in a storage unit for 2 weeks when I couldn't make rent. I stopped looking at mirrors. It was easier not to see my own face anymore. Her face had etched itself over mine anyway. Some nights I wanted to scream, not because I missed her, but because I couldn't even remember what happy looked like on me. Not before her. Not before the erosion. Before I learned how to shrink myself so small I could vanish entirely. Then, last month, everything shifted. I found a letter wedged between 2 flyers outside a coffee shop in Maine. No stamp. No return address. Just masking tape sealing it shut. Inside was a single photo. Her. Vera. Standing in front of some conference banner, shaking hands with a politician-looking guy. On the back, scrawled in handwriting I hadn't seen in 5 years. You never really left, did you? The photo nearly slipped from my fingers. She'd found me. Or at least some part of me. It didn't make sense. None of it did. 2 days later, as I passed the town hall, I saw her again. Not in a letter this time. Not in my dreams. In real life. In my reality. Flesh and blood, wearing that same smug grin. She was giving a speech. Same dress I remembered. Same hand gestures. But when her eyes landed on me, something in her face cracked. Mid-sentence, her words froze. People turned, following her gaze. Then she stumbled back like she'd seen a ghost. Her eyes rolled. Knees buckled. She collapsed. Right there, under those fluorescent lights, on a stage built for heroes. I stayed rooted in the back of the room, half-shadowed beneath a flickering exit sign, heart pounding like it wanted to claw its way out of my chest. I should have walked away, slipped out the same way I slipped in. But I didn't. Something held me there, curiosity, spite, maybe even some small, pathetic shred of me still chasing closure. I didn't plan this. I didn't come to destroy her. I came to see if she still had a heart. Instead, she crumpled before I could even say a word. Phone shot up. Someone shouted for a doctor. I just stood there, frozen, watching the woman who once told me I was nothing more than filler for her life's rough draft now lying unconscious on the ground, her hand twitching like she was chasing something in a dream. And then, swear on my life, she opened her eyes. For just a second. And she saw me. Her lips barely moved, like dust blowing off an old sealed box. She spoke one word. Lowell. Not the fake name I'd been hiding under for 5 years. Not the pet name she used back when things were good. She said my real name. Like a curse she thought she'd buried. I turned and walked out. Not running. Not rushing. Walking. Like I just witnessed something too ancient and powerful to challenge. The crowd didn't even notice me. They were too busy trying to revive her reputation. I didn't know where I was going. My legs carried me 2 blocks to a bench by the lake. The same lake where Vera once hurled my phone during a fight and said, "Now you'll stop whining about connection." Yeah, I remembered all of it. I stared at the water for nearly an hour, hoping it might give me answers. Then, Just when I thought I'd slip back into obscurity, my burner phone buzzed. One text. No number. You can't come back. They don't know. Please, I'm begging you. I read it over and over, blinking like maybe I'd misread it. They don't know? Who? About what? I should have thrown the phone into the lake and walked away for good. Instead, I stood up and headed straight for the clinic where they'd taken her. The same apartment complex we lived in during that last year. But I didn't go up to our old unit. I went to 2B, Marla's place, the one right below. I knocked. At first, nothing. Just silence. Then faint footsteps, hesitant, moving closer. The door cracked open, and there she was. Older, yeah. Her hair was a different color now, and there were faint lines on her face that weren't there before. But her eyes? Sharp, tired, knowing. She stared at me for what felt like 5 full seconds. Not breathing, not blinking. Then finally, she spoke. She didn't say hello, or Lowell, or oh my God, you're alive. She just said, I was wondering how long it'd take you to find me. Marla didn't open the door all the way. She stayed there in the narrow gap, one hand gripping the edge like she wasn't sure if she was about to let in an old friend or a live grenade. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Her eyes searched my face, scanning me like she was trying to figure out if there was still a person under all those years of silence. Finally, she let out this tired little breath, stepped aside, and gave me a small nod. Come in. The apartment hadn't changed much. Same battered old couch draped in a crochet blanket. Same shelves stacked with dusty records and movie scripts she never got around to finishing. It even smelled the same cinnamon and vanilla. And for some strange reason, I felt safer in that little living room than I had in years. Marla settled into a mismatched armchair across from me, cross-legged, cradling a chipped mug of tea that had probably gone cold hours ago. She didn't say a word, just watched me. So I broke the silence. You sent it, didn't you? I asked. The envelope. The photo. Marla's mouth twitched, half smile, half grimace. Of course I did, she said. You really think Vera would out herself like that? The words sank into me like stones. The knot in my chest didn't loosen. If anything, it pulled tighter. Why now? I asked. My voice came out rough. It's been 5 years, Marla. Why not sooner? She let out a slow exhale through her nose. Because 5 years ago, you were already dead. She held my gaze. Not literally, but in every way that mattered. You were broken, Lowell. I saw it. I felt it. If I dragged you into this mess back then, it would have destroyed you. You weren't ready. That's dumb, I said quietly. Mostly because it wasn't dumb at all. It was true. And now, she said, leaning forward, her voice low and steady. Now you need to see what she's become. What she's doing. I frowned. You think this is about a love triangle or something? Marla's expression hardened. It's not. She stood suddenly and crossed to a small cabinet near the window. When she came back, she was holding a thick manila folder, the edges curling from being handled too much. She dropped it onto the coffee table between us. My name was written across the front in red marker. Go on, she said softly. I stared at it for a long moment before finally opening it. Inside, papers. Dozens of them. Printouts of charity board minutes. Bank transfers. Emails between Vera and a man whose name was blacked out in every header except one. Martin Royce. Contracts. Shell company receipts. Donations funneled through ghost nonprofits. Everything looked clean on the surface, but just beneath it. Jesus Christ, I whispered. She's laundering money. Marla shook her head. She's rewriting history, she corrected. Then her eyes locked onto mine. And you? You're the first lie she had to tell to make the rest of it believable. My fingers trembled as I flipped through the pages. And then I saw it. A photo I'd never seen before. It was me, taken through the foggy window of a diner. Last winter. I was wearing my red flannel, reading a book. I looked up at her, my stomach twisting. You've been following me? Marla shook her head. Not me. Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. They have. I froze. Vera's people? I asked. No, she said flatly. Not hers. Then who? Marla leaned in close, her voice dropping to a whisper. Lowell, you didn't just disappear. You were disappeared. She had help. She had backing. And the people she's in bed with? They don't care about you. They care about exposure. About risk. And now that you're back, you're the biggest risk of all. I sank back into the couch, the folder heavy in my lap like a loaded gun. My pulse thundered in my ears. I thought I'd stumbled into a simple betrayal, a broken marriage, a personal lie. But this? This was bigger. So much bigger. And now I was tangled up in it all over again. That man, the one Vera tried so hard to erase, had spent his life putting out fires for everyone else while quietly letting his own house burn to the ground. But the man sitting in Marla's apartment now? He didn't flinch. He didn't panic. He just sat there, gripping the folder like a life raft, trying to process everything at once. Who else knows I'm alive? I finally asked, my voice low but sharp. Marla stood near the window, one finger hooked in the dusty curtain, peeking out like she expected shadows to sprout legs. She didn't answer right away, which, honestly, was its own answer. Marla. I said her name louder this time, with more weight. Who else knows? She turned slowly, her jaw tight, like she was trying to decide how much truth I could handle. I think, she started, then hesitated. I think someone in Royce's circle. Who? I don't know exactly. But a few weeks back, I noticed small things, subtle things. Cameras aimed at the alley behind your old job. Weird inquiries about death certificates. A friend of mine at the DMV flagged it when someone started digging into your old aliases. They're sniffing around, Lowell. That's why I sent the photo. I didn't know how much time I had. I rubbed my face with both hands, trying to force the roaring in my head to quiet down. And you didn't think to warn me? I did. Her voice cracked slightly. That's what the photo was. A test balloon. If you responded, I'd know you were still reachable. If you didn't, I'd go dark again. But you didn't hide. You walked straight back into the fire. And now she's seen you. Which means everyone else who matters knows too. I stared down at the folder in my lap, fingers digging into the edges like it might shatter if I let go. This, I said slowly, is enough to bury her. Marla's lips pressed into a thin line. No, she said. It's enough to bury you both, if you're not careful. I opened my mouth to ask what she meant, but then her eyes flicked back to the window. Her entire body went still. I followed her gaze. Parked across the street was a black sedan. Tinted windows. Clean. No plates I could see from here. Engine off. But even from this distance, I could feel it watching us. That car's been circling the block all day, Marla whispered. Didn't park until you showed up. My stomach dropped. I stood slowly, staying out of the line of sight, and crept to the edge of the window. Someone was in the driver's seat. Not moving. Not on a phone. Just waiting. You need to go, Marla said firmly, her voice suddenly steel. Where? I don't care. Just not here. I can't protect you if you stay. I didn't argue. I slid the folder back into its envelope, zipped up my coat, and grabbed my bag. Marla shoved a cheap burner phone into my hand. One of those prepaid flip phones you see in bad movies. Use this. One call only. No texts. Don't power it on unless it's life or death. She opened the back door, and I slipped into the alley. The air outside was sharp and bitter, stinging my lungs. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Or maybe that was just my pulse thundering in my ears. I didn't look back. I kept walking, block after block until my feet ached, until the city melted into the kind of place where no one asks questions. 2 towns over, I found a bus station. Paid in cash. Took the longest route the driver would sell me. And as the bus rattled to life, I pressed the envelope tight against my ribs like a second spine. Through the window, I kept scanning the streets for that sedan. But all I saw was my reflection, hollow cheeks, tired eyes, a man who looked more ghost than flesh.